Thank you for tuning in to Radicards TV on Radicards.com. I'm your host, Patrick Greeno, and this is my buddy, Dan.
How's it going?
Hey, Dan.
What's up?
How's it going?
It's going. It's,
yeah?
Life.
Awesome. So today we're going to be talking about cards. So, Dan, what'd you bring for us?
So I brought a 2009-2010 James Harden Topps rookie card. One of the bigger cards out of that set.
Mm-hmm.
And as I recall, this is the last year that Topps made basketball. And it's kind of a strong set because of the rookies that were in it.
This is Stephen Curry rookie here, right?
Correct. So he's in that set. I believe Blake Griffin is in that set, and then James Harden is in the set. And we were talking about it before we were on film. It's one of those things where it's a cool set. I kind of miss Topps doing football base sets and basketball, right? The traditional Topps set. But this one here, this year was kind of interesting because the backs are black, right? And so they're prone to chipping and dinging and having it be very obvious on the backs. I'm sorry. So this one, the card on the front is fantastic, right? And it's probably not visible in the camera, but on the back side, I believe it's this upper right-hand corner. It's got a little tiny ding, so it's kind of kept me from having it graded.
I wonder why
But
they chose
still
black on the backs instead of white, which would be the obvious choice for that set.
You would think, but I mean, I really like the design this year. I really liked how it came out, and actually the year before it was pretty cool as well. The 2008, 2009. Just a cool looking set. And like I said, I was looking through my stuff and I saw it there, and I was kind of nostalgic and like, kind of miss the base top set, both out of football and out of basketball, and to be honest, the hockey ones as well.
Ah, yes, yeah. I didn't buy any Topps that year, but I remember the baseball being really hot.
Yeah.
For the prospects that were in the 29 and 2010. I know that 29 was, I paid less attention to it than 2010 because I was like moving and whatever else, but it was a popular year, I think, for most of the sports, if not all of them.
Well, 2010 for baseball had Strasburg, right? Yeah, that was a big year.
That was a big year. Yeah. Huge. And then Hayward came into the season. That was his first pro season because his debut was in April of that year and Strasburg's was in June, so it was a big year for big prospects.
Right. What's amazing too is these guys were so strong, and the closing of the production, the no production of Topps after that. These cards have really held some value. The Curry is still a strong,
super strong
card, and this Harden, for base Topps rookie, you're going to pay probably $30
for the base card.
Yeah,
really. Wow. So, and obviously he's found in the chrome and all the different refractors and everything else because it just parallels the base set.
Right.
Is this the highest tier of the parallels that you own, or do you have another of these?
I don't have another of these. This is the only one. To be honest, I actually moved a bunch of the stuff when it got hot.
Yeah. And
was going through some stuff that I had set aside for shows, and had these priced, and I think this card I didn't even have priced, which meant it was a $1 card, and I had a Steph Curry that was priced at $2, and I was like, whoa, that
still sell it too?
That could have been a big problem, right?
I'll give you $3 for it.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll hold on to that one.
Right, yeah. Right. Well, I'm sure a lot of people, I've known of shop owners that have bought their shop like in the last 5 years, and they're going through the inventory and found a stack of Steph Curry rookies from same, because they were just there because when he came up he wasn't like a touted prospect.
I'm still kicking myself because the year that he was a rookie, it was at I think the last Baltimore National that we were at.
2012.
Yeah. No, there was the 2020. It was the one before that. Maybe you weren't at that one.
I wasn't.
But I traded.
2010.
Yeah, I think some guy gave me. He'd done a box break with Panini, and he traded me everything in that box for gas money to get home. Right, and it was like I think I think he said $20 and it's yours, right? And there was a Steph Curry auto in there.
Really?
And when I came home, I sold it for, I think it was like $60 or something at the time. And now it's probably, $500-$600.
Right.
But you can't cry over
You don't
spilled
know.
milk, right? I mean, I made my $20 back and then some, so
Sure.
I'm happy with the deal. But it was just one of those things where, if you could go back in time and change it, that would be cool.
There was about, I guess, 2 years ago, a couple of years ago, someone shared a screenshot of an auction of which there was a card that they had sold in 2009, and it was the auction. It was an orange refractor auto from Bowman Chrome, and the sale price was $66 with something like 8 bids or something, and it was the Mike Trout.
Oh wow.
A 6-figure card now.
Right now,
but you don't know what there's no way to tell how things are going to pan out. So we can't really kick ourselves for these things.
No. Well, and it kind of reinforces. I'm a collector, not necessarily a seller.
Right.
And so I hold on to things.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily my character to sell those sorts of things, but occasionally when you're trying to get funds together to go to another national or to pick up another card, you're willing to let a few things go. But we've had this discussion. Like I always laugh because our local card shop, like, come trade, and I'm like, nah, you have an easier time getting my money from me than my cards.
I feel that same way too. Like I'm not much of a, I've never been a trader.
Yeah.
People always come to me, hey, is any of this stuff available? And I make it, I reinstate what's already on the site. Say, no, nothing's for trade or sale. I just have a difficult time moving anything that I have in my possession. There are things that, like if I buy a collection and there's a bunch of just hodgepodge whatever, usually I'm open to moving a lot of that stuff.
Right.
But if it's like stuff I collect, like either PC, the type of card, or building the set, or like it's a rookie card of a player I like, I have a harder time moving that stuff just myself, because I have little projects going all the time of things I'm working on. Maybe I want to do a run of this or whatever. So I have a difficult time. Even I get frequent requests from people visiting the museum. Hey, Patrick, is such and such for sale or for trade? I'm like, no, it's not. I put so much time and money into in my life into building my collection. I feel like if I moved any of that, it would be like giving away a piece of myself.
Right.
That's kind of how I feel.
Well, then you run into the dilemma, like I'm dealing with this now, and I'm like, well, when I pass away, my family's going to inherit all of this, and hope they don't like
$20 and it's yours.
Yeah, $20 and it's yours. So I'm trying to get things labeled. I'm trying to educate my kids and my wife. And,
in your will, you have to put basically instructions on how to sell.
Yeah.
You have to do that.
Well, and I don't want them to hold on to things, just out of the pure memory of who I am. But at the same time, I'm like, don't just fire sale these things.
Right.
To clear space. Take your time with them because you're going to get a lot more money out of it.
Right.
Than you realize. You have no concept actually how much money you can get out of it. So.
Right. So it's equity.
Yeah.
Is what it is. And I have a friend who's created a sheet for if something happens to him, his cards will go to so and so, and there's instructions on how to either sell them or how to preserve them, things like that. I thought that was very smart to do that, and I think that that these are difficult documents to create, right? But it's nice. It's like insurance, just in case.
Well, I don't have a hard time with it. It's just
I can guarantee if something happens to you, you're not going to care about what happens to those things. But I just think that it would be nice to set whoever does end up with those things up for financial success, because there is a lot to gain from collections if you know how to sell and list and things, and what auction houses to contact and things like that. So, but not everybody has that knowledge, so it behooves us to set, to create those documents, those how to sell, how to move, and what to keep. If you want to keep, here's a list of items that potentially have appreciation value. Again, you can kind of just run through it, but difficult, it's just difficult documents to create. They just are. They're emotionally tough to start sitting down and writing about them, but. Gosh, we're just like, let's get off the macabre situation here and talk more about cards some more. Thanks for bringing that over. I think it's a cool card. I've heard it. I'm well aware of the player. I know he's popular, and I know that card is a big one. But I've seen some of the higher end ones pass through the auction ethos over the years. So cool stuff. Thanks for sharing.
Sure.
I'm gonna butcher this guy's name because I learned how to pronounce it, but I don't have it memorized, and so we're just kind of going to go with this. In 2005 was a pivotal year for sports cards. It was the first year, it was the inaugural year of Superfractors. And Bowman Chrome, they had their biggest parallel was the Superfractor, and now it's just become like a thing. Like there's insert sets with Superfractors and whatever else now. This guy's name is Kila Kaaihue, and I am sorry. So, I'm just going to say that I probably butchered it horribly.
Well, I have no concept of who he is, so...
Well, let's talk about it.
You did better than I did.
He was a big prospect in the Kansas City Royals system, minor league system, and he was tendered to be called up, I think, later than he should have. They called up instead Billy Butler,
right,
and then they called up Eric Hosmer, and then they called up Kila, and then at that point, Hosmer and Butler overshadowed him, and he didn't have the career I think he should have probably had given a chance to have if they called him up maybe a couple of years prior to when they did. So his career didn't pan out much, but he's still around in baseball in a capacity that's not at the professional level.
Okay. So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but what I can't see is he a position player? Is he a pitcher?
Yeah. So he what is he? Oh man. I mean, I know he's a hitter. I know that, but I don't know much more beyond the fact that he was, he was a prospect that was deemed to be hopeful at some point.
Okay.
And it's my understanding that he picked up a high school coaching position to coach baseball now, post-career. He's he's still relatively young. He's in his 30s right now, and he still has, I think, a lot of good years in a profession related to baseball.
Right.
But I picked this up. A gentleman online pinged me that this was available, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And then the price was, I think it was like $30, and I was like, "Well, that's a little high because I don't really know the player." And then I started researching him, and then the price within like a day and a half came down to $20, and I was like, "Well, I'm not gonna pass it up at $20."
Right.
But so this was like an ad because I have a lot of respect for the 2005 stuff because it's the inaugural year of Superfractors.
Right.
And I don't really care the player. I think it's just cool looking cards. I think the 2005 Bowman was just a good design.
Yeah.
I liked it, so I was glad to have something. I try to learn about some of the guys that you never hear about because they didn't really get a chance to blossom. Not everybody, of course, but some of these guys I'm like, oh, I wonder, how well or what happened or why did these kinds of questions are what I ask myself when I come across these guys. So
can I take a look at it?
Yeah, go ahead. So I have like I said, a stack of stuff I got to process. This is still from delivery. I got to scan it in and give it a new fitted sleeve and then get it into the archive. But just wanted to talk about that today because I just like the guy's name. It's hard to pronounce. But I like the set that it comes from. I like the fact that it's not an official rookie year card. It's a prospect card. 2005 was the year where you could see his first appearance on major licensed product. But it was some years before he actually made it into the majors as his first rookie year. So cool stuff. I kind of tend to enjoy some of the more obscure type of conversations with baseball because all of us love Mickey Mantles and Willie Mazes and Hank Aaron's and Mike Trouts and Mark McGuire's and Frank Thomas and Griffey and Gwen, and go on and on and on.
Right.
But how many of us have conversations about guys like Kila Kaaihue? I mean, it's kind of cool to talk about some of the fellas that aspired to be great, to achieve greatness, but kind of floundered for one reason or another. Either way, they weren't called up or at the right time, or they got injured, or any number of situations. So
I mean, the mere fact that he made this level, though, is more than most people will ever get.
Oh, totally.
So,
Anybody who gets on a major league licensed baseball card, I think, has reached a level that most people, like 99.9% of people don't achieve.
At the time that he was there, I mean, he was one of the best in the world. So
yeah, I mean, he was considered to be developed into one of the greater, hitters or whatever. So I was glad to learn about this guy. I had heard about him kind of in passing years ago, but it didn't really register until I had seen the car. I was like, oh yeah, I think I remember having a conversation or reading an article where his name was brought up some years back. I don't know how far back we're talking though. I mean, this is '05, so it's been quite a few years, but a lot happens between 2 and 3 and 5 years. I mean, just guys might not see their rookie year for 7 years after their first appearance on cardboard.
Right.
Perfect example is Mark Trumbo.
Aaron Judge.
It took 7 years.
It was a long time, yeah.
And then that's not uncommon. I mean, I see this often with a lot of baseball players. 7 years is not an uncommon amount of time to see them in, say, their first Bowman or their first Panini, whatever, and then they're finally making an appearance as their first rookie year in Major League Baseball. So I've kind of been studying the modern, definition of a rookie card over the last, I don't know, I'd say 18 months, because I've been learning more about some of the guys who came up and kind of like, okay, well, so rookie card essentially is their first appearance on a release that came out during the year in which they made their Major League debut. Mm-hmm. That would be their rookie year card.
Right.
Their rookie card might have happened years before that, because it was the first time they made an appearance on licensed product.
Right.
And that might be, Jason Hayward in '06, Aflac. He didn't make his appearance till 10, so it was 4 years. This is not an uncommon situation. Some guys come up faster than others, but I know, I think about it, there's several instances where oh yeah, he has a card way back then.
Right.
Bregman, 2010, and then his rookie year was 2017.
Right.
So you got 7-year block. But that's not completely uncommon. Every year we're seeing another guy whose rookie card can be found in 2010 is now a big card. A couple of guy from last year, I can't remember his name off the top of my head now, but he was pretty popular in 2018, and his rookie card blossomed, and it can be found in 2010 Bowman Chrome. Such an interesting thing that every year goes by, you'll see guys, you're like, oh yeah, he has a card in that set from 5 years ago. And now it's huge.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting to see kind of where things happen. This card valuation won't change from what I paid for it because he's not in baseball anymore. But, I'm kind of happy to have something like this. This is sort of cool. Here's the back. Typical 2005 Bowman. Bowman's kind of an interesting product because there's so many different variations of the product every year. You've got draft, and you've got chrome and then you've got all the paper versions, and then you've got there's a prospects is separate from draft.
Right.
And sometimes the designs will be almost the same, except instead of an on-card autograph, they'll have a sticker autograph. And the Superfractor will go to the edge instead of just being boxed in. Right. 2010 Bowman Chrome, I had to learn about the mechanics about how the design was laid out and implemented in that set. It's kind of a mind boggle. But that's not dissimilar from the preceding years.
Oh yeah, it's a mess all the time.
It's difficult. And so there have been times where people have tried to collect full images of Superfractors to complete a full run, but it's so difficult to do that. I tried to do it with 2010, but because of all the different variations of the set and the different there's chrome and there's prospects, there's draft, it's a lot to track down.
Right.
It's very difficult. So anyway, long story short, I'm sort of digressing here. I just wanted to talk about this guy, Kila Kaaihue. Man, I'm sorry, I'm butchering this guy's name horribly.
I think you've said it 3 different ways.
Yeah. His name is actually John Anderson. So, it's kind of cool. 2005, Bowman Chrome, Superfractor. This is prospect card.
Cool.
So there you have it. Dan, you have any final thoughts?
I'm good.
Okay. All right. That covers this episode. Thank you for tuning in to Radicards TV on Radicards.com. I'm your host, Patrick Greeno. Thank you, Dan, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And until next time, enjoy collecting.
Take care.
If you like this content, please subscribe. Thank you. Enjoy collecting.